with liberty and justice for all.
A few announcements here. I just want to mention today the start of 10 Days of Giving kicked off at Merchants Bank, and it's pretty amazing. It's the 31st year, and in 31 years they've raised over $3.5 million for the food shelf, and just says an awful lot about the community and how generous everybody is. And I'm sure the community is going to rally behind it again as they have in the past. Also mention that the holiday train, which is a part of that 10 Days of Giving, will be here on Monday, December 9th at 3:45, from 3:45 to 4:15 over at the Amtrak station. Always a fun time, so look forward to that. Bring some food to give to the food shelf too. Also want to mention that next Tuesday night, the Blue Heron, at the Blue Heron, the Fine Arts Commission is next Monday night. I've been corrected. Next Monday night, the Blue Heron Coffee House will host the Fine Arts Commission reception for the Creative Laureate and all the other award winners that we recognized last council meeting. And that's open to the public, and it starts at 6 o'clock. Also, it was brought to my attention recently that there was an individual from this community by the name of Tim Borkowski who saved a guy's life with CPR at Hy-Vee, and I'd just like to recognize him and to just say a huge thanks, and to encourage people to learn CPR. You never know when you might need it. And to the city street crews that have kept our streets so far this year very clean, and it's good to see. And I think that's all I have. So anything from the city manager?
I do have a few things, Your Honor. First off, I want to thank everyone who was involved with the Thanksgiving meal at East Rec last week. Volunteers and the donations made that possible, and also the firefighters who made, I think, 40-plus pies. So, although I think their spouses had more to do with it than they did. Secondly, there's a publication called Travel Vertical, which is a national publication, and they named Winona as one of the 5 most clever campaigns for the off-season. This is a product of Visit Winona. So we were in line with the city of Cleveland, Ohio, Fayetteville, West Virginia, which is smaller, Washington, D.C., and Las Vegas. And what they came up with was they were researching the folks that came and signed in at the visitor center, and realized no one from the state of Vermont had signed in. All other 49 states, but not Vermont. And so they thought that was kind of strange. And so they reached out to Vermont through an advertising campaign and basically asked the question, Vermont, is it something that we said, you know? And, you know, it was kind of folksy and cute, and it drove over 4,000 people to look at the Visit Winona website. And they spent an average of 2.5 minutes reading content, which doesn't sound like much, but in this day and age, that's quite a bit. So hats off to Cynthia Porter and Visit Winona staff for pulling that off. And then lastly, as most folks have noticed, the Christmas lights are not up downtown. We were notified this afternoon that HBC, which has been hanging them for the past several years, has determined that they won't be doing that this year. They cited some concerns, some safety concerns with some electricity voltage, some issue. So Keith and I are coming up with a plan. We'll see what we can do to try to get those lights up and work with others in the community to get them up. So we are aware that they're not there. I don't know if this is really a city issue or not, but we're going to try to resolve it anyway and see what we can do.
Yeah, well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Mayor Peterson.
Here.
Councilman Thurley.
Here.
Moeller.
Here.
Alexander. Here. Iden. Borzakowski.
Here.
Scholmeyer.
Here.
Under the required public hearings, item 2.1 is to consider vacating an alley on the central school block.
All right, it's a public hearing. I'll declare the public hearing open and ask if there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak. If so, state your name and address.
Sean Byer, 2250 Garvin Heights Road in Winona. Yeah, I'm just here, we have to vacate that alley that's going right through the middle of the building. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask away, but I think it's something that probably should have got done a while ago, but we had to get some housekeeping done, and that's why I'm here.
Okay. And George?
How's the surface on that alley that goes through the building?
It's a lot of concrete. It's a lot of concrete block, yeah. Any other questions?
I guess not.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Anybody else wish to speak? Last chance. Public hearing's closed. Ask if there's a motion.
I'll make a motion to introduce the attached ordinance to vacate the alley.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Eileen. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Under the petitions, requests, and communications, item 3.1 is a temporary wine and malt liquor license for Habitat for Humanity for December 7th.
Make a motion to approve that license.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by George. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 3.2 is a temporary wine and malt liquor license for the Great River Shakespeare Festival for Monday, December 16th.
Make a motion to approve that license.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Paul. Any discussion? George?
I know, Monica, you and I talked about this before, but what is the price that they have to pay for this license?
It's approximately $26 a day.
Okay, a day,
It's,
okay,
for the temporaries are pretty minimal.
okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Hearing nothing, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Item 3.3 is the appointment to the Housing and Redevelopment Authority of Margaret Walsh.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Paul. Discussion? Here, George?
And this person here, which is a very good candidate, she's replacing a person that's on there now that just doesn't have the time to serve the position anymore, so, but I want to thank that person for her service on the board.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 3.4 is a license agreement for portable restrooms for Darcy Inc.
Move to approve that, a license agreement.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Eileen. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 3.5 is a holiday market at the Levy Park event for Saturday, December 14th.
Make a motion to approve the staff request.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Paul. Any discussion? Lee, did you want to say anything?
No.
Okay.
It was successful as last year.
Okay. Yeah, it's a nice event. Hope the weather, I think the weather was really nice last year, too.
Gonna have the same weather. I'm sure.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll talk about that afterwards if it's not. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Under unfinished business, item 4.1 is a timeframe update to the unloading parking zone on Johnson Street near the Main Square development. This ordinance was introduced at the November 18th meeting, so the correct motion would be to amend and approve the attached ordinance.
I'd make a motion to amend and approve the attached ordinance.
Second.
There's a motion by Michelle, seconded by George. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 4.2 is the time amendment to 45-minute parking zones on King, Howard, and Mark Streets. This was already adopted at the October 21st meeting, so this would be an introduction of an amendment to that ordinance.
I'd make a motion to introduce the attached ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Paul. Discussion? Al?
Yeah, I looked at this and I went, well, this, I assume, is to replace the parking that was removed for the bike lane pilot project on Huff Street, correct? And I think the businesses that are affected by the removal of the parking on Huff are probably open on weekends, either on Saturday, Sunday, or both days. This ordinance allows parking beyond that 45-minute restriction on those days. I don't think it's fair for those businesses, since they lost the parking on Huff, to continue to be penalized for parking in other locations during days that they may or may not be open for business. So I would offer an amendment to modify this to include the Saturday and Sundays, as well as the Monday through Friday period for 45-minute parking.
Is there a second to that amendment?
I'll second that for more discussion purposes if there being any.
All right, we have a motion by Al and a second by George to amend the motion. Open it up for discussion. Michelle?
I'm in favor of keeping it to the weekdays, which is consistent with how we have it throughout the community. I think it'll lend our community to confusion if one section of town allows parking on weekends in front of businesses that operate during the week, and then on a different part of town, there's a different parking schedule. And I'm also not sure who would be checking for 45-minute parking on Saturday and Sunday unless we're recommending that we have a parking staff member work on the weekends as well, because right now there's one employee specifically that does the days of the week, which would mean switching shifts around to have someone go over to this neighborhood, which I'm not sure happens now, and check for those 45-minute slots on weekends. And I think that's a much bigger discussion than, I'm not sure we even have that budgeted for, Steve. I don't know how we would cover the cost of an employee doing that. So I'm opposed to that change without further discussion about how that would affect staffing.
Al?
Well, I think that the issue here is not so much staffing, it's putting up signs. And if people can't read signs, then they can certainly contact if people are parking in those areas for longer than 45 minutes on the weekend. I wouldn't want somebody to continually monitor that, every hour. And further, this is designed really to assist those businesses in providing customer parking during the hours they're open. And if other businesses in the community wish to do that, they certainly can make those requests.
Paul?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Alan. I see we have a chain reaction of things happening because of the change of the parking on Huff Street. I feel like we've made an accommodation resulting from the change. But there are also property owners on King, Howard, and Mark who have tenants who also, they're also impacted by this and wanting to have some relief. And so this offers them a little bit of relief because we've taken away their 2-hour or their full-day parking. And so by moving this section to 45-minute. So I think we're kind of compromising with all, and this is kind of a chain reaction, so I would not support the amendment.
Steve?
I just looked on Google Earth, the signage along the side of Mugby Junction. It's 45 minutes. It doesn't say Monday through Friday, weekends, or anything like that. So that signage right now, it only says 45 minutes. It doesn't state what days of the week it is. Do you have any comment, Brian, about how that might affect?
I think the stuff right now is under the Monday through Friday portion. I know the stuff on Huff was, and that's why we went with the Monday through Friday to replace what was on Huff.
Because the 10-minute in front of Mugby, according to what I just saw, that sign just said 10-minute parking.
On Huff.
It didn't say anything about Monday through Friday only,
Over 10 minutes.
right? So, I mean, we haven't stipulated in the past that it was only during the week, the work week.
Eileen?
Just as someone who goes down all of these streets quite frequently, I know that on the weekend, the congestion from students drops quite a bit, and they're most of the parking that's taken up on those streets are by students who are driving to campus, and they're getting there, you know, either for an 8 o'clock class or a 9 o'clock class, and it really lessens on the weekends. So I think the way that this is currently, you know, unless we see that it's becoming a problem, I think this would be the most consistent, as Michelle said, throughout the city.
Michelle?
And just to mirror that too, because I happen to know students will drive from 6 blocks away to get as close as possible. I don't think we can accommodate every business's hours with parking that best fits their business. That would be like a bar wanting 2-hour parking in front of them at night, or a pizza place wanting night parking for 45 minutes. I think we have to be consistent so that it's fair to everyone that's visiting or living in the city. There's a consistency throughout the community, wherever you live, that if there's a parking sign, it's Monday through Friday, and the hours that are specified are the same. And I think we start to get into trouble when we start to modify that for a specific location, because you know what it means no matter what neighborhood you're in. It doesn't change.
Yeah.
So I'm still there even after the discussion.
Steve?
The signs in front of Mugby Junction and down to Zaza's, they say 30-minute, and they do say Monday through Friday. So it doesn't stipulate the weekend.
George?
Well, you know, as far as parking goes and consistency, I think going from east to west and in between, I really don't see much consistency at all with it, because there's all different time frames and different no parking and 10-minute parking and 20-minute parking. I guess just the question is that if one of us here had a business on Huff Street, would we be satisfied with this change? That's what I'm asking myself.
Al?
Well, I agree with Councilperson Borzakowski that, you know, we take each individual case as it comes up, and we then make a decision. We made a decision earlier to eliminate the parking on Huff Street to put a pilot project for a bike lane, which Councilman Borzakowski and I voted against. So, I mean, I'm just trying to help those businesses that are affected by the elimination of parking on Huff, whether it's Monday through Friday or Saturday and Sunday. People see the signs saying no parking, they won't park there Saturday or Sunday, even if it doesn't say Saturday or Sunday. It should, you know, if they can or cannot park there on those times. I don't know how that affects our ordinance that we passed regarding the pilot project for the bike lane. But, you know, again, I don't think eliminating parking was a good idea to begin with.
Any other comments? Ready to vote on the amendment? All right. All those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Wait, this current amendment?
No, his.
Or his?
On Al's amendment.
On the amendment.
So let's.
Sorry, I was confused.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I meant no.
And
No,
that's,
no, what do we got me
On the
confused
amendment.
here.
no, just on the amendment.
There's the
Raise your hand
There's the
here.
pass interference
right.
call here.
We're voting on Al's amendment first
Okay.
before we vote
The
on the
amendment
motion.
to make it include Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
Okay. Those in favor of that, raise your hand.
There we go.
We have two. Those opposed, raise your hands. Okay. Motion fails.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
Now we'll go back to the original motion. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Under new business, item 5.1 is a resolution to certify polling places for the 2020 elections. And note again that we will have 3 elections in 2020, starting with the March 3rd presidential nomination primary. And the only change in the polling sites is at Cotter High School. The site would be moved across the street into the lower level of the St. Cecilia Hall.
Make a motion to approve the attached resolution.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Paul. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 5.2 is the 2019 sidewalk replacement project certification of completion.
Make a motion to approve the attached resolution.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Eileen. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 5.3 is the approval of the draft RFP for the Arts and Culture Strategic Plan.
Make a motion to accept the RFP and direct staff to issue the proposal.
I will second that.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Paul. I just have a question for Lee, I guess. How will the public be involved in this? I see the Fine Arts Commission, the city staff will, and some public. Just wondering how you're going to select those public members.
The staff will have recommendations for who will sit on the approval, and will include some folks from the public.
Okay. And then just one little correction. You mentioned SciTech, it's Solve in the proposal. SciTech is now Solve.
Okay.
All right. Al?
As long as you're up here, Lee, what range of budget is in our budget for this event or this proposal?
Mayor and council, you've approved 15,000 for this year, and hopefully an additional 15,000 for the next year.
Okay, thank you.
Or
Hopefully
less.
those- Yeah,
Yes.
those proposals will come in within that range.
Correct.
In other words, that's what you, okay.
Good. George?
What will your role, Lee, in this be, or is this something that you could do?
No, I don't believe it's something that I could do, Mayor and
Okay.
council, but I'm happy to lead the committee that will be overseeing it.
Okay.
Part of having outside folks do the study is to make sure that everything is from fresh eyes and looking at it in terms of other towns and other areas.
Any other questions? Eileen?
Just regarding the public input process, I know you said there would be some members of the public chosen to go through this process, but as far as public input, is there?
Oh, yes. Once the firm is chosen, there will be public input, just as there are with almost every study that we.
Great, thank you.
Anything else? Thank you, Lee. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 5.4 is the Ice Park Agreement for the Use of Land.
Make
I
a
will
motion
move
to
to
execute.
execute the agreement.
I'll second.
Motion by Paul, and seconded by Michelle. Any discussion? Al?
Just to thank the Birdsalls for continuing
Yes,
to allow us to
absolutely.
make this happen for people.
Absolutely.
I want to add, there has been a lot of work going on up there, especially clearing invasives. So we're getting kind of two birds with one stone here. We're kind of getting an expansion of our opportunities for outdoor recreation for people visiting and people who live in the community. But we're also kind of taking out some of those invasives that's really thick up there around where the ice park is. So.
Yeah. Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 5.5 is the quitclaim deed for the former Central School Block.
Make a motion to accept the resolution for disposition of the city interest and the communication from the attorney, Mark Merkowitz.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Eileen. Discussion? Al?
I just, a comment, I found this really fascinating, that there were two issues with the land and the title to that land over the years. And I'm curious about, I hope this is a unique situation, but given the age of the city, there probably might be others that might be coming before us in the future, who knows? But I'm glad that we're able to resolve this to allow this project to have a clean title to it.
Okay, anything else? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 5.6 is demolition of the structure located at 1065 Marion Street.
Make a motion to approve the attached resolution.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Paul. Is the property owner here by any chance? Okay. Greg, did you want to say anything?
This has been ongoing. I kind of gave you a timeline as to what happened and how we've been pursuing this. This building is deteriorated to a point where I have some genuine concerns. It is, foundation is shifting, walls are buckling, the roof is caving. Another winter like last year and this thing could be down. We have made countless attempts. In fact, I even tried to call the owner right before this meeting. We have failed. I've talked to her one time. She said she would comply and allow the city to raise the building. She was informed that she could sign a consent order. We can't find it at all. So this one's a hazard.
Do you have any idea how long it's been since it's been lived in?
Boy, I haven't seen any. We started this process a year ago. The police were in there some time ago, and on the report, I can't remember what the date was, but they said it was absolutely filthy, that there are no signs of anybody living there. So she walked.
All right. Any other questions or comments before we vote?
Mayor,
Oh,
I might just
Sure.
a couple
Chris, go ahead.
comments for the record on this one. So, apologies for the superfluous third in the title of the resolution, by the way. But this is the property owner's right and the lien holder's right to a hearing before the council on the declaration of this property as a hazardous building. The council's sitting in a quasi-judicial capacity related to this hearing. The fact that the property owner didn't show up means that she's obviously waived the right to be here to present whatever she would have wanted to do. Obviously, had she been here, we would have heard from her or a representative about anything she would want to say during this hearing. By adopting the resolution tonight, you basically will put in motion our ability as your legal counsel now to make a motion for summary enforcement to the district court. The district court will then give us an order where the city can then retain a contractor and then go raise the structures on the property. At some point after that happens, we will then determine the cost, and we will come back to the council at a future date where we will ask you to assess those costs to the property owner's property taxes. The property owner, to the extent that we have been able to find her, we have done numerous pieces of correspondence that articulate in writing what I just said. So the property owner has been informed of all these issues and is aware of those rights, or at least we've attempted to do that. The only other thing in terms of adopting the resolution with the findings in order tonight would be, if I could ask Councilor Alexander to add this to her motion, would be to approve and authorize and direct the mayor and the city clerk to execute the consent agreement to the extent that we can get that. I mean, it will short circuit this process if we can find the property owner and have her consent. WNB Financial has already signed the consent agreement, so it would be really nice and cost effective for us not to have to go to court on this if we don't have to. So if you could add that to your...
Sure. What he said?
One second.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? George?
So when this whole process goes through, when could we expect that house to be raised?
I would say, if it passes this part, I'll start looking. We've already gotten a quote from one contractor. Part of it is going to be when they can. So I'll start looking for.
We have to go to court.
Yep.
So, I mean, we've got to serve the order, get a motion hearing date with the judge. Those don't happen overnight, so it'd be, 3 weeks or a month. We've got Christmas.
My intent is to have all the things in place to go. So once it passes, gets through the court, through the process, we got it, we're ready to rock.
Because I got a list of about 10 of them I can give you, but we'll get this one done first.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Chris?
One other comment for the record. Obviously, there's a cost to doing these. And, you know, as we saw with like the Hoffman property and, you know, if we end up having to raise these buildings, especially in a situation like this, it's highly unlikely that you're going to recover those costs. So even if we assess them the taxes, it's going to be hard to recover them because now you've just got a vacant lot and you've got an assessment on it. So it makes it hard to recover them. So just, again, so full knowledge on this stuff.
Okay. Al?
Well, just to comment, I mean, you know, this is, as our attorney mentioned, this is fairly serious stuff. And I don't take any of this lightly, and I will vote to support this because of the public health issues, and the hazard issues, but encourage anyone who does receive official correspondence from the city to open it and to respond to it as best as their ability is. But I'll vote for this reluctantly because of the situation.
Michelle?
I agree with Al. I think our city in particularly works really hard with property owners to try to recover them whenever possible and helps them get in touch with different organizations that will help them as well. And I just think in this circumstance that communication never really happened. So for the safety of the neighborhood, I'm in agreement. From the pictures, the condition is fairly advanced, so.
Well, thanks for all the effort to try to work this out with the homeowner, too. Anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 5.7 is the Bluff Intermittent Stream Stabilization Grant Proposal.
Oh, I'll make a motion to apply for the Conservation Corps Water Fund grant.
Second?
I thought you were gonna do that one. I was trying to,
I was looking at John. and
I know,
then-
I was like, oh, well.
But, so, can we have John?
A motion by Michelle, seconded by Paul. John, did you want to say anything?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The proposal is a pilot project to retain erosion or stop erosion, as well as work on retaining some sediment that does come through our storm sewer. So this is an idea that's been, our concept of check dams is basically small little dams that slow the flow of water. It's an idea that's not new. It's been used throughout human history as a way to, especially in alpine areas, control water flow. So this would be an area, this would be an ideal situation also because these are steep slopes. It's hard to get in there and do any other kind of more conventional stormwater control measures. And the grant opportunity is such that we would get free labor and materials would be limited to really wood and a few other binding materials, so relatively low cost to the city. And most of it would be labor that's included through the Conservation Corps. And it should be a type of project that they're capable of doing. They do a lot of earthwork and building with wooden materials.
Okay. Paul?
So we're doing two, right?
There are two locations that we would work on, and each of those locations would probably have multiple small check dams as part of that proposal, part of that area.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
So these red dots are the multiples?
Each of those red dots is a check dam. So a check dam is probably only 3 to 5 feet in height. It's probably twice as wide, and so you're basically stepping down that slope.
Mm-hmm. So each of those red dots, we get a check dam.
Would be a check dam, yes.
You know, this is just, I can't say enough about how good an idea this is. I've hiked around there and there are some serious erosion concerns and I'm totally psyched that we're doing this, so thank you.
Al?
A couple of questions. Are these the type of check dams that require regular cleanouts from settling or anything like that, or sediment?
Potentially, we would need to clean these out to be fully functional after they fill in with sediment. There would still be some benefit because it is lowering the slope even if they are filled in.
For the speed of
Speed of the water.
Okay.
But, I mean, yeah, there's really two benefits. One is they trap the sediment that's leaving the storm pipe, and also slowing down the flow of the water so it's less erosive as it goes down the hill. So you'd lose some of that sediment retention ability. So we could clean them out. I don't have a good idea of what that frequency would be. My guess would be multiple. My guess is probably, after 10 years, we might have to clean them out, but hard to say.
What about the structure of the dams in the event of extreme rainfall amounts or, erosion, or potential for, we've had it around here, obviously, back in 2007 certainly, but how would that affect these structures? Do you know, is there a?
I would need to consult with our city engineer to get the details as to what that might look like. My belief is with the severe flows, it would just flow over the check dams. But I would have to defer to someone who knows more on engineering.
These are not the dams that you're looking at. You're looking at a dam that would hold water behind it. These are more or less just going to hold soil behind it, so you don't have the risk of the dam blowing and dropping
Or
a bunch of water
even the
below.
structure of the dam going
The
downhill?
structure is more or less wood driven straight into the
Right.
ground. So worst case scenario, if the thing tips.
Okay.
It wouldn't be catastrophic by any means.
Okay, good.
All right, anything else? Paul?
I know that the game starts in a few minutes, but, so, most of this development came in before we had our Bluff Top development ordinance, am I correct? Yeah, long before, and so I am curious about Ridgewood Drive, that we need check dams over there, because Ridgewood Drive is pretty recent development, is it? Or is it more than 10 years old?
More than 10
Oh,
years
okay.
old.
So I mean, hopefully with our Bluff Top ordinance now and our that some of this would be prevented in the future. And so we see what happens if we're not paying attention to our development, and we have to come back, 20, 30, 40, 50 years later and do some additional work. So I'm really excited that we're, again, paying attention, but this is also an example of why we have our new ordinance. So.
Okay, anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 5.8 is the amendment to the Greenmark Communities Solar Garden Agreement.
Move to approve?
Second.
Motion by Paul, and seconded by Michelle. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 5.9 is the 2020 non-union wages.
Move to approve the attached resolution.
Second.
Motion by Al, seconded by Michelle. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Item 7.1 is council concerns.
We'll start with George.
Nothing this evening, as directed.
Paul?
Well, I just want to agree with Councilmember Worzkowski tonight. I have nothing.
Okay. Michelle?
Go Vikings.
Eileen?
Sorry, I'm gonna throw a wrench in the works. I just want to echo thanks to the city staff for the community Thanksgiving last week, and also there is the third annual Battle of the Brushes next Friday at Island City. It's a live painting competition.
Like that kind of brush?
Like a
Painting.
paintbrush.
Yeah.
And anyone is welcome to participate. They're still looking for artists to sign up. I can't because I am emceeing. But it's a fundraiser and it's a great community event, so please sign up to paint or come.
Al?
Just to reinforce the train coming on December 9th, that's it.
Okay.
Under the consent agenda, there are two items, the approval of minutes from November 18th and the final adoption of an ordinance for the one-way alley between Washington and Johnson.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Al, seconded by Michelle. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mayor, I move we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Skol.
Cool.